We'll start Pro Golf Talk. We'll cover web.com real quick. Just mention where they are, who's in the leaders, day one. Then we'll go to the women, and then we'll finish up with the Tour Championship. Mm-hmm. And we'll they don't even tee off till 11:50, so they're another 30 minutes away. Hey, I want to welcome everybody to Pro Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, George Honeycutt. With me, guest host, very special person to the TGD Network, Mr. Jimmy Biggs, head golf professional, PGA professional at Crow Creek Golf Club. Welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you, George.
It's good to have you, bud. And you look spectacular today.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so impressed. Well, a lot happening on the pro golf circuits around the world. Of course, right now, the web.com tour is up at a very, very good golf course. I've played this course several times, and I'm talking about the Ohio State course. Ooh. They're on campus. Of course, they refer to it as the Scarlet Course. Yep. And the web.com tour is up at Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, playing in the Nationwide Children's Hospital Championship. And this is always a fun event for everybody involved. And it does so much for the local charity up there, the Children's Hospital in Columbus. And it's $1 million purse, $180,000 going to the winner. And we're still looking for these guys to go low. You know, as Hugh would say in one of his Hughisms, shoot low, Sheriff. They're riding Shetlands.
Yeah, really.
So leading off things right now, Chase Wright is 3 under par through 7. There's also Derek Fathauer to 3 under par through 6. Steve Allen is 2 under through 5. Richard Sterney is 2 under through 4. And then there's several coming in at 1 under par. So although they're not ripping it apart, they are playing somewhat decent on this. It's not an easy golf course, and considering the older growth rough, they have the same thing over at Scioto. And I've played Scioto several times. Of course, the home of Jack Nicklaus. That's where he grew up. His father was a member at Scioto. Muirfield wasn't around back then. And then, of course, Jack built Muirfield.
Sure. Well, I'm also curious what the weather's going to be like over the weekend, too, and make sure they get it all in.
They're going to get some rain clouds. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like every tournament this year's got some rain, but it's like you say with that rough, that rain gets in there, and that stuff becomes vicious.
It's a natural equalizer to a soft fairways and soft greens. Is if you miss that soft fairway, then you're just going to get penalized. They'll see that. The women this week, the LPGA Tour is competing in their 55th major of the year.
Yeah.
It just seems that way, dude. I'm
does,
sorry.
I swear. We got a lot of majors going on there. I don't even, it's like you say, the 55th.
Well, they are in their 5th major of the year.
I've lost track.
Yeah, they're at the Evian Masters in France. Of course, many of them are completing their first day rounds. Interestingly, we have Miss Kim herself at 10 under par. She posts 61 in the first round. So obviously the golf course is not playing that difficult. There's no wind. And they're just out,
Just what you want for a major, just let them go low. What did Bubba shoot today?
Bubba.
I picked Bubba, of course.
Bubba hasn't teed off yet, dude.
Okay.
He's still waiting for his flight.
Okay, good.
You and your picks. We repeat every week Jimmy's picks, of course, for these tournaments and things, and he always goes with
Bubba Watson.
And
who else do I pick? Oh, Lexi. Yeah, Lexi. Yeah, well, the two long ball hitters.
So it's every
I wish
week.
I could hit 2 shots as long as those.
We were predicting the PGA champion. Of course, we put your picks in. Bubba, of course, naturally for the men. And
I
then
picked Lexi for the men's tournament as well.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
Okay, good.
Yeah, you had her coming in the week before to play in the men's, and then she stuck around, and Bubba stuck around and played in the women's the next week.
Exactly.
So you go ahead and check your bet and
covered all my bases.
Yeah, you're done. So Cam is in the lead at 10 under par. Webb at 6 under par, 65 today. So good start for Webb. We'll see if emotionally and psychologically if she can keep things together for all 4 days. Suzanne Patterson, who we expect to see there at 4 under par, shoots 67 today. Brittany Lincecum, again, 4 under par, 67. Good round for her. She's had a great year. Suzanne's had a great year. Mi Young Ur is at 5 under par, so congratulations to her. She comes from she started in their race for the CME is she started in 93rd position. Just in her round today, she's projected to move up almost 40 positions.
Wow.
And of course, their year-end tournament championship, so which is the CME Globe. So she's made a big move. Hopefully, she can continue her good play. Siri Pak is started off pretty good day. She's 3 under through 15. So you sit down and look down the scores. Julie Inkster's having a decent day starting off. She shot 69. IK Kim, Hugh Royer's own IK Kim, is 2 under 69. So IK started the tournament off well. Morgan Pretzel's at 2 under. Pretzel, I call her Pretzel.
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 Yeah.
How about that? It's good stuff. Amy Yang's at 2 under. So that just kind of gives you some of the feel. But 10 under par, Jimmy.
10
Oh,
under
my
to
God.
start off, I guess, sometimes the putter gets hot and everything. It looks like you can make everything. But I really like Suzanne Pedersen there. She's defending champ. She hasn't won anything this year, but I think the last 5 tournaments she's been in the top 3. So she's playing good golf now, and obviously she's comfortable with the course. So I wouldn't be surprised to see her there on the weekend.
Right. It's it's going to be interesting. Again, I brought this up in discussion, Jimmy, a couple weeks ago, just to spend 20 seconds on it. And the LPGA has done a phenomenal job. They have seen and witnessed great growth, corporate sponsorship, branding. They've significantly increased the branding of the LPGA.
Absolutely.
However, it is so disappointing that first off, they have 5 majors. It gets lost in the system. Secondly is they don't adequately promote their majors. And that's why I jokingly say it's their 55th major. And I say that out of respect in the fact that they need to get with the networks. They need to get with their own website people. They need to get with their social media people. And they need to start promoting these, especially if you're going to have 5, you need to give them all the same type of attention.
Give it the buzz, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, we know about the Nabisco. We know about the craft. We know the Robe. We know that tournament.
Yep.
We know this year. We knew their Open.
Sure.
At Pinehurst.
Sure.
I mean, it was being touted. The
Absolutely.
women playing after the men.
Well, and you give the USGA a lot of credit for that too. They did beef it up.
Right. I would agree. I would agree. So, and then it just seems like poof, it disappears.
That's really the last thing we really paid attention to.
And it's sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've got stellar play. I mean, Hugh Royer himself, he'll sit here and tell any amateur listening that you should be paying attention to the LPGA Tour versus the PGA Tour. It's probably closer to your game.
Absolutely.
As far as course management, club selection, shot making, type of shot that you're going to hit. Those women are probably going to be playing that type of shot more related to what you're going to do every weekend out on the course.
Absolutely.
And so it disappoints me, I would say, Jimmy, that they don't better promote it. But the European Tour is at the KLM Open. They are in the Netherlands. Beautiful golf course. If you haven't seen it, coverage started early this morning. But interestingly, Jimmy, I'm sure you're aware of this. You stay up to speed on everything. Fabricio Sanati had to be removed from the golf course this morning. He was playing the 16th hole, and a ball came in from another player off the 14th hole and hit him square in the head. And they shut play down for an hour and a half today, and they had to put him on a stretcher with a neck brace and a back brace. And evidently the ball impaled him in the forehead area. And so they ended up removing him under these conditions. And his 2 playing partners actually were also from South Africa, and they ended up deciding to walk off the course with him and attend the hospital with him.
Wow.
So, again, we've seen this like with Ernie Els at the British.
Sure.
He ended up hitting the Spectator, which affected his play for several holes afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
And we every week we see someone get nicked in the leg or the side or whatever. But again, today, another player. So that's rare and far between.
It's scary, and I don't know what you do to combat that.
Well, there's a question.
I mean, exactly.
Has it become a full contact sport now?
Do you start issuing helmets at the gate? I don't know.
Right. Do these guys start wearing Under Armour body armor?
Protective gear? I don't know.
I don't flak vest?
Obviously we've got so many volunteers out there, and you can only have so many spotters, but these guys are hitting the shots. So, they've got to. You got to be aware of your surroundings too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
well, it says on the ticket, it says on the ticket, we're not liable.
Well, yeah.
We're not responsible.
But
So,
but still, I think if you're at a tournament, if you're at a golf course, you've always got to be aware of your surroundings. And whether you play, again, for some people, they may have not been to that golf course. They may not know that, hey, this is a danger zone. But for me, just a golfer, I know 200 to 240 yards on the right side of a hole, not a good spot to have a house. All right, that's what I laugh about whenever I go to some of these golf courses.
Right.
It's a bad spot to be sitting around not paying attention. Now, if you're 330 out, okay, you might be able to gaze around a little bit, but you've got to be aware of your surroundings, and it's unfortunate for that player. But that hats off to his two playing partners to walking off.
Well, they're
tournament
like
with
brothers.
Yeah,
So they grew up together. They lived in the house together while they were on the South African tour. And so they just decided, hey, they sent their caddies in,
This
and
ain't
they
worth
went
it.
in the
Yeah.
ambulance, and they went with him. Still has not been released how the European Tour is going to handle them, whether they will be allowed to go back out tomorrow and finish their round or not because of this situation.
Sure.
But we'll wait for that update coming from of course, the European Tour. But again, the KLM Open is currently ongoing, and they'll be playing for the next 4 days in the Netherlands. And the only Ryder Cupper that's playing in that event, interestingly, now one of the vice captains is with them. Jimenez is playing, but however, the only other player that's there that would actually be teeing it up in a couple of weeks at Glen Eagles, will be Thomas Bjorn. Sorry, I hit a little lull there. But Thomas Bjorn decided to play this week, and they believe then next week he's taking off. And, of course, the following week, everybody will be getting together as a team. All right, we move on to the PGA Tour, and they are at East Lake in Atlanta for the Tour Championship presented by Coca-Cola. This is it. This is the Tour Championship, and this is what we've been waiting on. This is the FedEx Cup. It all boils down to these 29 players. And, of course, it was 30. Everybody was coming in. They wanted to be on that top 30. And, of course, they now go to East Lake, and they have 29 teeing off today. So, interestingly, where's the 30th?
He's sitting at home,
Yeah.
Mr. Dustin Johnson. I was actually thinking about, we were joking about that this morning. Who's going out with Gary? Gary's, I think, the first tee time this morning. Gary Woodland. I said, I told my guy at the counter, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Club Pro goes out with him. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, they have to have a marker.
They have to have a marker, yeah.
So,
but again,
are you surprised, Jimmy? You are a PGA professional, Class A member. Are you surprised that now understand the PGA Tour runs the FedEx Cup. That's not the PGA. That's not the USGA. However, because of Dustin's situation, where he's taking personal time, is that right, Jeff? Did I say that right? Okay, that he's taking personal time. Why wouldn't they allow number 31 to move up?
I have no idea. I don't know what the fine print reads when you get into this type of event, but it does seem a little weird that this guy's sitting at home and 31 could have jumped into that slot and had a chance to win some money. While, I guess everyone gets paid in the Tour Championship.
That's right.
Do they
Yeah,
not?
everybody gets a check.
So
There
I
is
don't
no
know.
cut.
Is Dustin getting a check for being at home, or are they going to
Ooh.
cut his part
What
of
a
the purse?
damn good question.
I don't know.
Wow.
So that was the only thing that I brought up, is that obviously Dustin's taking some personal time, but if he's not in the event, does that prize purse get cut up 29 ways?
Yeah, and this brings up the question that we had 2 weeks ago and again last week here on the program is he qualifies for the Barclays. He qualifies for the Deutsche Bank. He qualifies for the BMW.
Sure.
And he still qualifies for East Lake. If this is personal time, why the hell hadn't he come back? I mean, why pass up $1 million? Why pass up $10 million?
$10 million. A chance at it.
So is it a formal suspension or just personal time?
Well,
okay,
yeah,
we're moving on.
Yeah, we got to keep it PG.
Oh, I had to bring it up, dude.
Sure,
I'm sorry.
sure.
I just, you could sit and talk about that stuff for hours.
I certainly could.
Let's go to that website real quick. We are coming to you here just before noon time, Eastern Standard Time. The players mentioned Gary Woodland. He's going off first at Eastlake. Is not teeing off until 11:54, I believe it is. And so we don't have any live update scoring. But however, we are looking forward to that. And again, Eastlake is an interesting golf course. I heard Stuart Sink yesterday make a comment, Jimmy, that Eastlake is one of those golf courses that he's played probably 150 times, of course, attending school there in Atlanta. And it's always been a golf course that if he went out and shot even par, he had a good day. However, when you sit and look at the golf course that is Eastlake, there's nothing really daunting.
No.
Except for the fifth hole, which
Okay.
is the par 3. It's an basically 75% of it's an island green. And where the boys play from, when the tour comes in, where they play from, it runs about 215.
Right.
And Stewart made the comment about 5 that 5 is really the only hole where you literally, from the time you peg the ground until you are in your follow through, that you don't take a breath.
Right. I would
He said literally your rectal factor is about 11.5.
rectal factors.
Rectal
That's a
factor.
new stat on PGA stats.
I'm
Tracker, I
hoping
think.
they pick it up. I really do.
Yeah.
But again, he commented that hole is really the one that causes you to take a lot of cause, a lot of time, a lot of spent energy over your club selection, how you want to play the shot, where's the wind coming from, are the greens firm, you're trying to remember your approaches from the first 4 holes.
Right.
Because literally there is very little bailout on that golf hole. I've played the hole probably 25 times, and there is very little bailout for the amateur, much less the PGA Tour player that's coming in with probably a longer iron, a 5-iron to anywhere to a hybrid, depending
Sure.
on who you are.
Right.
But again, it's 215 yards. It's pretty much dead carry. And then you're hitting a green that's, probably 23 feet wide and about 65 feet long. And so although it looks like, okay, how do I miss that? Then when you actually get up there on the green and you look back at the tee box and you go, how did I hit this?
Exactly. Yeah. You're thank goodness I'm near the hole.
Yeah. And interestingly, too, it's number 4. And number 4 is for the members at Eastlake, and everyone pay attention to this during the television coverage. But number 4 plays a par 5 for the membership. And they reduce it to a par 4 for the tournament. And I've seen the likes of John Daly in a practice round hit driver 8-iron, and then he drops another ball and then hit a 9-iron and got both of them. The 8-iron went to the back left part of the green, the 9-iron went to the front right part of the green. And this hole will play from the tips about 535 yards.
And he hit driver 8-iron?
He hit driver 8-iron.
Okay.
Now, the reason for that, Jimmy, is, and watch for this, folks, when you see the televised aspects coming from Eastlake, is the fairway in the middle of the part of the fairway, just left of middle, about 7 yards left. There is about a 7-yard wide ladder, chute, ladder, slide, whatever you want to call it. But there's a little hollow space at the tipping point of that fairway. It starts sloping down from that point. And if the pros are able to hit that chute, they are able to propel, much like number 10 at Augusta, Jimmy. Their drive will literally go down the hill as much as 40, 50, 60 yards. You will see if Rory hits that shot and he hits that chute, he literally will be he'll hit drives probably at 380 to 405.
Wow.
If you don't hit it, then the Zoysia fairway grabs it like a catcher's mitt, and you're sitting there 265 from the hole.
Yeah. So you've got pretty much no angle. It's got to be a little left to right shot, or is it?
Yeah. I mean, well, you're shooting
Or
straight downhill.
You're just going to lay up.
You're shooting straight downhill, so you'll pull out a fairway metal or a hybrid and just hit it as hard as you can. There's a couple of bunkers, front right, front left, and then there's one back left, and then you got the walk area over to number 5 green. But again, it's kind of narrowed in the front, it widens in the middle, and then narrows up in the back as far as the green goes. But again, it's a par 5 for the members.
Sure.
So what they did is they made a nice landing area down at the 100-yard marker. And then you've got, you're going to throw your ball, for the amateur, you're going to throw your ball in the middle of the green. But the pros, they're coming in from 235 up at the top of the hill. That green now looks like a postage stamp. And they are literally aiming for the bunkers.
Oh, my goodness.
Because the rough, as you get just outside the green, then that rough's going to be some of the thickest on the property.
Right.
Because it's also sitting at one of the lowest points on the property. Interestingly, most people don't think about that.
I'm looking at that right now.
Yeah. So, again, number 4, pivotable hole. I think it last year it played right at about 4.15. It was like the next hardest or the second next hardest hole or whatever it was. And then also holes that you need to look out for. Interestingly, depending on who the player is, number 10 will be pivotable because there is a parallel road and a fence line that runs just on the left-hand side of the fairway on 10. It is a par 4 uphill. And those that are snap hooking it or, in Bubba's instance, maybe push fading it, very easy to hit those trees, to hit the fence, to go into the out of bounds, and you'll see several drops made there. And then the next hole that really is going to be determining the tournament on Sunday will be hole number 15. It is a par 5. It's uphill dogleg right. It's a very interesting spectator view standing right behind the tee box. And literally, folks, if you attend Eastlake, attend the Tour Championship by Coca-Cola, you will be able to, any day, Thursday through Sunday, you'll be literally 6 to 7 feet away from the tour players as they put the peg in the ground on that hole. I mean, you are that close. You see the sweat, you'll smell them. You're that close. And then to watch them hit out the chute, there is a lone pine tree that stands about 40 foot tall that sits out from the tee box about 180 yards. They're going to be bending it around that tree, and then they're going to get a late little movement right, and they're looking to pick up, again, another 12-yard diameter slot on the fairway, leaving them about 220 to an elevated green, which they will be hitting long irons to, mid irons, some of them, and they are going to be looking for the magical eagle. But for some, it ends up being, if they make par, they've kind of given one back. If they make bogey, they've definitely given one back. And so
looks like the tee shot's going to be the hardest part of that hole.
Tee shot is everything in that hole.
Yeah.
I've seen guys get to that hole, have a great round going, and then all of a sudden they push it a little bit, they catch the rough. I've seen guys even hit that tree.
Through,
Yeah, and it's a layup.
Yep.
I saw Jim Furyk do that several years ago. So, again, 15 will be the start of the homeward leg. Then they get to 16. 16 is one of the longest par 4s. It is straight downhill. However, the fairway is only going to be 23 yards wide, folks. This is just historical. This is how wide the fairway is always set up for the Tour Pros during the Tour Championship. And they're going to have to play it down the left-hand side, let the ball hit and roll out. They're going to finish right. It slopes all from left to right, and then from the tee box to the green, it's directly downhill. Then they'll be hitting to a green that on Sunday will have a very interesting back right pin position, and it gives them basically an area that's about 8 feet in diameter to hit the ball into, and it must check. We have seen Gary Woodland hit a 7-iron from the fairway into that area. It hit about 4 feet left of the pin. This was 3 years ago, and he ends up making double bogey, although his ball hit within 4 feet of the pin.
Wow.
So if they get over the green onto that back right rough, it's just almost impossible to get it up and down back to that short-sided pin placement. Then, of course, 17, a par 4 with the parallel water on the left that we saw Mr. Haas himself.
A lot of magic's happened on that hole.
That I still don't know how he did that shot.
One of the best up and downs there was.
No doubt.
And then Snedeker a couple of years later, little bump and run chip that went in.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a fun little hole there.
A lot of magic on 17 has happened.
Yeah.
And then 18,
that's
one
where
of
the
the
nerves
unique
start to come out at 17. You think, oh, we could do this.
And 18, then you get one of the more unique par 3 finishing holes.
Sure.
in a year of golf.
Absolutely.
And they are going uphill to a hole that's about 220 yards, and the green is severely sloped. I remember my caddy saying one day, "This is Mr. Honeycutt. This is one of those all shit putts, because as soon as you hit it, you're going to scream all shit."
Stay on the world.
Oh, yeah, we'll see these pros from back to front putting it off the green. There's no doubt about it. That's why you'll see a lot of them hoping to just hit up on the green. Jim Furyk, when he won the FedEx Cup, that was his objective with his club selection. I just want to be on the front part of the green. If I get a kick and a release up the slope, great. If I don't, fine. I'll two-putt.
Yeah. I actually noticed that a lot of you didn't see too many guys missing long. If they missed, they were in that front bunker or they were just short of the green. I noticed that.
Exactly. And plus two long, Jimmy, there's not but about 6 yards of grass behind the green.
Until you're on the stands.
And then you, they actually leave a gap in the stands because the access road, the actual front drive road to the clubhouse, sits right behind that green.
Sure.
So they'll actually put some television towers there and things like that. But you have an open area. You literally could get into the asphalt and then be on the other side.
Oh my goodness.
And then you're just dead. So
well, Phil's not playing in it, so we're thinking
we're good.
Safe. Yeah.
We're good. I'm just curious to see where Bubba goes.
Oh, that's a good point. Good point.
He'll 220 uphill, par 3. He'll try to nut a wedge.
Maybe he might
he'll fade a wedge.
Fan a 9-iron or something.
Ooh, fan a 9-iron.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
With his wrist.
Oh, but he'll look good doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Tour Championship, of course, presented by Coca-Cola. We're real excited about East Lake's one of those golf courses, folks, that if you get the opportunity to just attend this event, and we've talked about this for several weeks, absolutely. If you're in the Atlanta market, tickets are easy to get. Transportation, you go park at the stadium, at the Brave Stadium. They have shuttles that run over there to East Lake. Trust me, folks, you really don't want to go over there and park yourselves. Trust me, just trust me. I mean, a lot of work's been done over there, but Stuart Sink even commented on this yesterday. Back in his days, in college days, when I was actually playing it just as a amateur golfer, you just didn't trust that you were going to make it through the 3 or 4 lights that led into East Lake. It was just a bad neighborhood. So, again, I hope everybody has a wonderful week and weekend of golf. There's a lot going on right now. There's a lot happening. The ladies, again, are in France. Web.com is up in Ohio and Columbus at a very good golf course, so keep an eye on that. And, of course, the PGA Tour is at the Tour Championship this week, presented by Coca-Cola. For Jimmy, for George, thanks so much for joining us here on Pro Golf Talk Live. Coming up real soon, we have another segment of coverage of the majors, the Ryder Cup. I shouldn't have tagged that, but I did. All right, dude. Running behind. I thought that was good.
Yeah. Absolutely.